So I am now on chapter 5 of this book, and as you can see, it's going exactly as expected. All of this red pen is not a great sign for the book. It's a great sign for your entertainment though. I am here now. Not a very big book. I'm on page 40, which is the first page into chapter 5. What do I even say about this book? It's hard to read, just like the first one was, but the first one I feel like I plowed through really quickly. Maybe it's just that I haven't had like a sit-down reading session that was long enough to knock this out all at once. But it's 8:30 in the morning right now. I've been awake since 4 o'clock and I didn't touch this book. I would have rather done anything but touch this book. That says a lot about the book. Let's talk about it. This is going to be a spoilery video, as you know, so click away if you're interested in the book that costs $1.25, and that's the quality you're getting. So I wrote notes based on each chapter, so I'm going to be looking down here. From what I can gather, the characters in this book are pretty young, and they're in a high school play, and it's about 3 girls who basically are going to play these witches in this play. And the play is about like paranormal creatures, and as they start rehearsing for the play in their theater class, weird things start happening. The theater teacher is a little odd. The way this play comes about is really weird. It was written by someone who is now like passed away, who went to the high school like 60 years prior. And basically what happens is these girls are practicing for this play, and while they're practicing for the play and going through their high school life, their wishes that they speak out loud start coming true, which I'm making it sound way more interesting than it is. The wishes coming true are really lame. Like, so lame. They're not interesting. This main point that I have here about the plot not making sense logically is that the girls, after just like 1 or 2 things that they say out loud coming true, are immediately like, oh my gosh, it must be the play. There's something going on with the play and our wishes are all coming true. And they don't even test the theory immediately after they have this realization. Not great writing, in my opinion. The craft is not there, the nuance missing. But let's go chapter by chapter. I have notes for 1, 2, and 4 written down, so let's just talk a little bit about this book. In chapter 1, I had quite a few qualms already. We have the stereotype portrayal of witches, which is like super lame. They have the big nose, the warts, they're evil, they smell rotten, you get the point. Which is just an overdone stereotype at this point. Like, yeah, sure, there's real witches and there's monster witches, but really it's just a way to keep women villainized, so that's cute. And then we have not real potion ingredients being listed. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The spells don't make any sense. This guy clearly has just watched some Goosebumps or some Hocus Pocus and is calling that witches, which is so lame. Get it? Witches are only women, which is really annoying. Not true. Men can be witches too. Modern witches, not monster fake witches, but you get the point. And this is just like, I'm getting into the weeds here, but they call it a spell book. Go get the spell book, Janet. It's not a spell book. If you know anything, if you just did the simplest of searches online, it's not called a spell book. It's called a book of shadows or a grimoire. Thank you. There's a lot of internalized misogyny and double standard, but also in the opposite direction, not just sexism against women, but also towards men. There's like a line about how boys can't cry, how boys shouldn't cry, how when being tortured, the worst thing that's happening is the boy crying, not that he's being tortured. The use of like act 1, act 2, and act 3 are not used appropriately for actual screenplay writing in the book. I get that they were trying to do a multimedia experience because it's about plays, but ick. At least, again, do a little research, please. I get that it's for a kid, but this is the foundation that builds their logic for life. Let's have some accurate information in here. Let's move on to criticism in chapter 2. The first full named character, first and last name, is a male on the 2nd page after the 3 female main characters are introduced. And they're only ever referred to as girls and they're given first names eventually. But why is the first full named character with personality, like any personality or visual description, male? And a boy that they have a crush on at that. And a boy that is like a bully to them. And the thing that really irked me in chapter 2 is all of the teenage girls wishing for the same boy, the teenage boy, and that's what's on their mind. I was a teenage girl. That was not what was on my mind. That's not what was on the majority of girls' mind, and that was not what dominated the majority of girl conversations. That's just a me experience, but written by an adult man, can we not write about teenage girls pining over boys? Because you could have chosen anything, you're the author. Just saying. I skipped chapter 3. I must not have had any feelings about it. I don't know. Didn't make me feel anything positive, but it also didn't make me feel anything overtly negative. In chapter 4, I did have a positive note. I like the message that we shouldn't wish ill will on anybody. I did like that. I did like that there's a negative consequence and a question of morals about wishing ill will out loud on somebody. So I guess good on that for one thing. And then I have a note here for a certain page. So I have page 34. Oh. Okay, so this is what I chose as an example for the writing. It's dialogue. "You can't?" asked Jenny. "I'm not so sure. Let's take a long, hard look at what's been happening over the past few weeks." Nobody talks like that. And let alone a 13-year-old girl. The dialogue is very stilted, as you're seeing. It's very robotic, and this author clearly doesn't know the difference between casual language and literature. I wouldn't even have written the narration this way. It feels like a flex in a children's book, which is strange. Again, I'm just not loving it. And of course, the book is fairly whitewashed, as you would have expected. So I'm gonna keep reading. Those are my notes for chapters 1 through 4. I will have another bulleted list for the rest of the chapters. We are almost halfway. Wish me luck. I'm in my bathing suit. We're gonna head to the pool because it's hot. Yes, we're going to the pool at 9 a.m. because I don't want to be in the crowds in the sun, and we also don't want it in the 100-degree Fahrenheit range. Once we're in the water, we're gonna come home before the heat of the day. That's my story. I will update you when I have read some more. Hopefully I'll just be finished. I will say some of the illustrations are interesting, but again, the imagery, extremely lame, extremely stereotypical. Nothing new, nothing innovative so far. And continuing the trend of reinforcing sexist and misogynistic concepts in young children. Hello. So I have finished stage fright now. I was going to take you chapter by chapter through this, but there wasn't really much interesting to say, so I'm just going to summarize the book for you at this point and tell you that I didn't like it, which is not shocking, and then I will read you some of the things that I absolutely hate about it. Let's get into it. I'm going to spare you all the details because it's basically just repeating all of the things that you would expect of something that is using stereotypical witches from media. Lots of toil, witches with big noses and warts and abracadabra and all of that jazz. It's a bunch of nonsense. This is not doing any favors to witchcraft, 100%. Witches everywhere, be offended, is what I will say. Not original, not creative. The basic plot is that the girls start realizing that their wishes that they speak aloud are coming true. They go to a graveyard. In the graveyard, one of the girls gets trapped in a mausoleum and there are maggots everywhere, and the witches confront her. The witches from the play like materialize. and try to convince her to be one of them for some reason. And then she ends up falling down and passing out, and then the other girls find her and a policeman comes, and so the evil witches vanish in thin air when the policeman comes, and then they take the girl that fainted to the hospital. They all pretend to be sick because the ghost of the person who wrote the play approached the other two girls while the other one was stuck in the mausoleum and said, oh, you can't recite the play exactly how it is on opening night so that we can defeat these witches. They pretend to be sick so that they don't have to go to rehearsals to basically say the parts of the play that are the spells. And then on opening night, they are miraculously healthy and nobody bats an eye about that. And then they all say the wrong lines during the play and the teacher gets mad, but then some crazy stuff starts happening. The witches show up on stage and they defeat the witches, and that's that. The teacher just goes, that's fine that all that weird stuff happened. I think the play is just not a good play. And then they get rid of the play. The adults in this book, in this series, don't make any sense, okay? Not an ounce of sense has been made. And it's very frustrating. I am not into it. And it was offensive. It was just blatantly offensive. There's a part where the witches say, like, the one that stood out to me the most was the girls were like saying random things from the play, and it was just a bunch of the nonsense, typical mutterings of witchcraft that you hear in media. Not even trying, not even a single Google search to make it sound a little more realistic. Also don't love just the fact that the witches are the villains, but you know, whatever. We're not even looking at the blatantly obvious problems here at this point, because everything's a problem. We're not taking down the societal structure right this moment. The witches say to this girl, like, oh, you think you can mutter our spells in your play and everything will be fine, but those are real spells, so they're gonna really happen. And they're not real spells, they're abracadabra. That's not how witchcraft works. It's not just I say some words in a specific order and things just happen that are supernatural. Like, that's not the case. There's intention, there's specific words, but not really. It's more about that purity of intention within an individual and having the power to do so and a connection to the natural world. And I don't even need to explain to you why this is offensive. This is not witchcraft. If you think this is witchcraft, get some help. You are a Google search away from the truth, and it's not that hard to see past this book. The writing was just awful. I don't remember the writing in the piano being this bad. I don't know if it got worse or something, but I hated the writing in this book. It actually hurt me to read it. I had to speed read the second half because I wasn't gonna finish it. The dialogue is super stilted, unrealistic, not how people have a conversation. The exposition, awful. Sentences are just like fragmented and juvenile and not in an accessible way for children, in a poorly written way. And it's not how I would do storytelling, is what I'll say. It was really hard to read. This whole book was really painful for me, in concept, in execution, all of the above. Oh, my leg just fell asleep. It hurts. Oh, wiggle the toes. Oh no, it hurts so bad. I would not recommend this to literally anybody. I wish I could burn this book, and I wish I could burn every copy of it that exists. Do not recommend. If you are a parent, please do not give your kid this book. Any parent of any kid, this is doing no good whatsoever, and I hated it, every second of it. If I hadn't also been reading this for the Aurelium Magical Readathon Spring Equinox 2024, I would not have read the rest of this book. I probably would have DNF'd it, but here we are. We finished it. We made it through. Definitely more disappointed than I expected to be at the end of this. I had very low expectations and it still was lower than I expected. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in part 3 when we read Pen Pals. hopefully it goes up from here and we can at least enjoy ourselves a little bit into this autumn season that we're getting into right now. I'm going to read them in autumn, so hopefully that gives me a little bit of a boost and it helps with the vibes being the same time of year as the book's genre. We're doing our best over here. Thank you so much for watching. This was very painful. Please like this video and help me make this series worth it. Comment down below if you could be a witch. What kind would you be? Green, white, dark, black, gray, kitchen, herb, garden. You get the point. Do a little Google search and you will see all the different types of witches. Pick one. Astrological, you know, dreamwalker. Thank you so much for watching. Like, thank you a lot, actually. Please tune in for part 3 because this is, again, very painful and time consuming and it puts me in a reading slump every time. I'm gonna go read something fun now that is not for this series and I will get back to you. Stay safe and stay kind, siblings.